Okay, so good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. Yeah,
Yeah, we're just taking a second.
okay. I'm gonna pause momentarily. There we go.
It's still recording.
Still recording, okay. So we are opening up the Board of County Commissioners Work Session for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. It's 10:04 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left is Commissioner Emily Klaus, Vice Chair Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Rachel Grant, Commissioner Carolina Mejia, participating virtually, County Manager Leonard Hernandez, and Assistant County Managers Jennifer Walker and Joshua Cummings, and Ellen's with us, Ellen Massey. So we've got a meeting that will not be live streamed, but it is being recorded.
Yes.
Public written comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of the meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. Miscellaneous items this morning. First is East Martin Way Gateway Project. We had scheduled a follow-up. I think there was going to be a presentation, but let's talk about how we're handling that item, County Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In talking this through with intercity transit, this project is in its really beginning stages, and there are some timeframes and project considerations that we're working through. And so we don't believe that we are ready for an update at this time, but look forward to bringing intercity transit back at a later date. That's the update.
Any questions for the County Manager on item 1? Okay, more to come on that. Then let's go to item 2, Lodging Tax 2026 Gateway, Lodging Tax 2026 Priorities.
Thank you so much, Chair. And as you called out, we have Ellen Massey with us. We're putting up a presentation. I'm going to go ahead and hand over to her, and then we will tag team as we go through the slides.
Perfect. Thank you, County Manager. Good morning. Ellen Massey, Management Analyst. Thank you. We just have a quick presentation here about the lodging tax. And the purpose of today will be potentially identifying funding levels and funding priorities by the board. Maybe.
Scroll down, scroll.
Pardon?
Can you go down?
Yeah, that was what I was doing. Yeah, that sounds great.
So you help.
Mm-mm.
You help people with presentations all the time.
I know.
It's kind of ironic. that
There you
you're
go. I've just taken all of the energy off of it.
We had the problem previously. I think it's not
It's
you,
the-
Ellen.
It's not you.
Might be.
Liquor.
Great. Well, first off, I just wanted to give an overview of the lodging tax. In general, it's guided by an RCW. It's used to fund tourism promotion, marketing, and some of the items listed on the screen, as well as there was an e-brief sent to you all on August 8th that has more of those allowable costs outlined. I got it that time. Did you do it? Oh, okay, great. So in 2025, the board had approved $150,000 to distribute. We received 23 applications, and the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee recommended to fund 16 of those. I've outlined them on the right hand of the screen. The funding priorities for 2025 were projects, events, and facilities owned by the county, applications that provided a high ratio of paid overnight stays, and then projects that were unincorporated in South Thurston County. I also wanted to highlight that there were 2 new items that we implemented in the 2025 cycle. One is that recipients were required to use the Thurston County logo as a sponsor, either on their event page or on their tourism facility.
Which I think is a great ad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And then secondly, we worked with the communications department and revamped our website that highlights the applicants that were sponsored and links to their pages.
And I know that Susan is our Chief Communications Manager, is going to continue to provide some updates to that page. We want it to show all the different things the county is supporting and funding with these dollars. And so I appreciate feedback we received from some of the commissioners' offices on both of these components, because it is great that when folks are seeing programs out there in the community, they can attribute them back to the good work the county commissioners are doing. Then on our website to have a splash that shows the impact of some of these important programs and services, and also pictures, which will always help folks really visualize what's taking place out in the communities.
Absolutely. And so not only are they receiving lodging tax funds, but the promotion as well of their facilities and events on the website. So speaking specifically to the lodging tax fund, again, the board approved $150,000 in both 24 and 25 to be distributed. The revenue in 24 was about $134,000 and had expected fund balance at 170 or 279,000, excuse me. In 2025 began the collection of the board approved 2% special tax, which we're anticipating the revenue this year to be between 200 and 250,000, with an anticipating end fund balance of around 370,000.
And we're watching that closely. Obviously, we know that some of our tax collections are, while not completely flat, they're not performing as high as they have in the past. In 2024, even though the board approved 150, and we brought in 134, there was a significant enough fund balance for us to cover that. Some of the reason why there is fund balance is because not everyone we distribute funds to are always able to expend the funds. And so once in a while, there are funds that come back. We wanted just to highlight that with the anticipated revenue, and part of the decision conversation for next year is what rate to fund and what are some other bigger projects to fund. There is a healthy fund balance of the 369,000 that Ellen mentioned.
So with that, moving into the 26 cycle, we have again the anticipated revenue and fund balance. So to county manager's point, there's an opportunity to fund at a higher level for 2026 if the board so chooses, depending on priorities. Working with Summer's team to identify that there's an opportunity for 450,000, that would still leave a fund balance at the end of the year of around 118.
Yeah, and that really is an up to amount. We wanted to provide, that's not necessarily a staff recommendation, it's just we can go up to that amount and still have a fund balance. I think the next slide that Ellen will click to will show some of the things that we have been tracking, have been discussed. And I know even today, our next agenda item is to talk specifically about the FIFA fan zone. But I know there's been some questions about what's available funding for some of these other activities.
Absolutely. So I think that's the end of the presentation. I think we'll open it up to the chair. So if any of the conversations around if.
Oh, please say a little more what the economic and cultural asset development priorities are.
That was through the board's shared goals that you all, I believe, approved a few weeks ago. There were specific items that were called out in that.
It was one of the 5 shared goals that the board approved, and this is an opportunity if there's something that the board members are aware of that could actually add value, that we're just wanting to show that there's potential funding available to that. I think the big one on the list, commissioners, the one that we've had a lot of discussion about out in the community, and it's been going on for some time, is the FIFA fan zone. You know that we'll talk a little bit about that at our next topic, but definitely capacity to look at that. Part of the decision also for today is to look at what do we want the 2026 number to be for the support of the other entities. If you can go back a few slides, Ellen, to the one where we showed 2025 overview. Yeah, there we go. So if we notice in 25, we set it at 150K to distribute. The board would like to up that to, let's say, 200 or 250. What we're showing is there is enough fund balance, even if we don't realize the full 250 from the increased sales tax, we could support up to that amount and still have room for some of these other activities.
Would, by doing that, are you saying there's capacity to increase the amount for this year's cycle for
Yeah.
2025?
No, for 2026.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, thanks for clarifying.
Oh, yeah, no
I'm
problem.
just showing you 2025 overview to show that with 150, there was 23 applications, we funded 16 of them, and then over to the side, it has the events and the number of funding we supported. I thought that was helpful for all of you just to get a quick overview of what this year looked like as we build into next year. And if there's an increase in funding, then potentially we could either, as the LTAC committee meets to talk about this, they could either fund some of these events at a higher amount or fund some of the events that weren't funded in 2025.
Yeah, I see Commissioner Fournier, then I have my hand up and next, and then Commissioner Mejia.
Hi,
Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I think the information, I just like, I'm sure we all recall that,
Your audio is a little bit
sorry.
echoey, Commissioner
I
Fournier.
think, can you hear me now?
Not really, it's echoey.
Yeah.
Uh,
Lost him.
Well, while he's coming back, so like, this may be information not at anyone's fingertips, but I've never been, cities, like, there's always this conversation about, well, the cities have LTAC, so how much should the county be putting toward, we're allowed to, I know we've had that discussion, we're allowed to put county money toward events that occur within the municipalities, but there's sometimes argument that, we should be more focused on South County stuff since the cities have their own LTAC, but I don't know the structure of like, do they have exactly proportional amount of money for their population, or are we bigger than that? Like, I can't really process, where that balance should be without kind of knowing.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, some of the biggest and most impactful events in the county occur within the cities. So I understand the argument that, if those are fully funded by city dollars, then we should focus elsewhere, but I can't really assess that without knowing, like, do they have as much spending power as we have to fund all the things, and lots of things, a disproportionate number of things are going to happen in Olympia, for example, because it's the capital, the county seat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's got the waterfront, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of part of my calculus that I'm kind of missing data on.
Yeah, I will. So we don't have at our fingertips right now what each city gets, but what I will tell you, it's not proportionate to any like population or size of budget. It's really the revenue that they bring in through that tax. And so a lot of lodging opportunities in their city will bring in more than others per se.
But wouldn't Lacey and Olympia, for example, bring in a lot more money than Thurston County because they have more hotels? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I don't have that information, so
Just speculating, like, abstractly.
I'd have to review what they, so we can gather that information for you.
Let's see. Commissioner Fournier, are you back? We see you, but you're muted. See your name. Okay, let's go to Commissioner Mejia while we're waiting.
Thank you. I guess just going to the potential priorities for me, like, I, just going back to what Commissioner Mensah was saying, right, was having that a broader, community impact should be a priority. You know, this year, the procession of the species is one of them where we did not fund this year, but it's for me, it's an integral part of the community. It's a very well-known event. I was surprised with the South Sound Block Party, which was named like the event of like Seattle Times, it was named the event of the summer. And I was surprised, when I was talking with them that they did not receive funding. And so I know that the funding is definitely limited, right? And for me, like, one of the things I always advocated for was our fairgrounds and our fair, making sure that's the one event that the county does. And that should always be a priority because it's our event, it's our thing that we are putting together. And the reason it's been able to really function as well as it has been because of all the amazing volunteers who sit on that. And so that should be something, of course, I'm feel biased towards the FIFA fan zone. I feel that should be a priority. And so I know that the city of Lacey and the city of Olympia get their LTAC dollars are way more than ours, just because of like, the heads and beds. I'm not sure how much, but I know it's much more than our 150 that we've put through. So I just talking about those potential priorities, I would like for that to be like more of a definite community impact, right? Like when we're talking about that community impact. And
Are you, so there's 3 priorities here, which I think are good, but it sounds like you're suggesting we add a 4th, which is kind of like, so we've got county-owned facilities projects, we've got high ratio of overnight stays, and then unincorporated county. But a 4th one could be community impact, like I think that's a good way to put it, high community impact.
I think that what you're talking about really fits under the board shared goal, economic and cultural asset development.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the event that's countywide, and if there are things that are taking place that have a regional draw, and the board would say, we'd like to invest in that, we can definitely work that in. And
Yeah, I mean, a great example is like when I was moving, I moved here in 2007, and when I was evaluating places to live and I was looking at Olympia, I mean, procession of species is like, that's like front and center. Anytime you look up Olympia and what it's about and what the culture, and I mean, that's an example of something that, I don't know if people are coming and staying in hotels, so that may not fit that criteria, but community impact, I like that phraseology. It's definitely there. It helps define the community in a way. Mr. Fournier, back to you if you've got sound. And for me, FIFA the fan zone would be something like that as well, because it's going to be huge with what we learned at the last couple of meetings. What's your class?
Thank you. So I had a couple of the same questions that I heard you mention, Commissioner Mensah. When I was looking at the materials last night, I was wondering what other jurisdictions funding looks like for LTAC. That was one of the questions I had. I also was wondering about the county's revenue too. So if we could, I know you said, Leonard, that we'll be rounding up that information. And I'm also curious to know if the county is collecting from like Airbnb. Okay, I see a nod, so maybe that means we are. So, and then also the Great Wolf Lodge is owned by the tribe, right? So they would be voluntary if they contributed. Do we know? They do not. Okay, okay. And then as far as priorities, I would like to know, well, so one of my priorities I would like to see is funding for the regional athletic complex in Lacey. And in looking at the shared goal priorities is actually an asset that's specifically named in the economic and cultural asset development section. So I was happy to see that because this would align directly with the regional athletic complex. And as I was thinking through that, I was wondering how metrics are being tracked to ensure that the goals of LTAC and the purpose of LTAC is actually being met. So I know that like Experience Olympia and Beyond tracks metrics in a really robust way. I don't know if we have access to that information or how we are tracking to make sure that we are putting heads in beds, which is what it's for. Because I know the Regional Athletic Complex hosts a lot of events where people come from like all over the state. So I wasn't sure if there was a way to kind of track the impact that each of these assets is having on the community.
I believe the RAC hasn't submitted applications in the past.
They have or they haven't?
No,
Okay.
they have not. And so that's why they have not been funded. And they got funded through the county through another fund, which was the property, the special use district tax. And that's how we funded
They're
that
paired with the
piece.
Children's
Yeah,
Museum.
yeah.
Okay.
They got joined together and to create this special district to fund themselves.
And then the Experience Olympia and Beyond has been a part of LTAC. So they've been sharing the metrics of the heads and beds and that.
Their information rolls up and all this activity is considered tourism-related activity
Mhm.
that would be reported out. As you mentioned, they have a pretty detailed report out.
Okay.
So
I'm not
part of
sure.
the
Good question
application.
though, how much data, because I know in the application, remember when the Tenino Young at Heart Theater got kind of dinged because they had to like explain, they had to explain how they were gonna be, like they had to narratively explain the heads and beds, but it wasn't like a precise, like, oh, we put 177, there had to be some explanation of how that was gonna fit, but it was kind of subjective
Yeah.
in a sense.
Well,
don't feel like-
I know Young at Hearts, it was also about the, what they were requesting. I believe that it just didn't fit into the category of actually it was more for,
Well, I just remember their initial application was, I don't want to get off track, but I remember their initial application was rejected because they didn't adequately fill out the part about the heads and beds, like they didn't describe it well enough to make the committee feel like it was solid. So I just know from that anecdotal situation that there is a requirement in the application, but I don't know how data driven it's gotten. I know that the goal was the VCB was trying to get to that point where
Yeah.
they were experimenting with those things where you can track people's phones and stuff with how people move around and trying to get some real numbers to that stuff. Did you have something, Matt?
Yeah, I would say since Wayne is having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Part of the struggle that the committee has is with the newer events submitting their information and having to come up with their projected heads and beds, since that is the ultimate goal, is to get heads and beds. That was one of the struggles that they had last year, and why several of the events that you're discussing as priorities did not get funded, is because the heads and beds was, several of them put very, very, very small numbers. So it makes it hard for the committee when there's a limited pool, is to replenish the fund with heads and beds.
so I guess going back to Commissioner Klaus's question, Ellen, not sure if you can answer that. It's like, so then what is the role of the VCB?
Well, the VCB sits on the LTAC
Yeah.
committee, but the VCB is tracking as our Visitor Convention Bureau what our activity and equates to the convention, the visitors coming into the county, both those that are staying in hotels and then those that are clicking on websites, et cetera. So as mentioned, they keep quite a bit of data on that.
And in past, VCB has offered their geofencing technology to any of the LTAC recipients. I do believe that they still do that both for cities and county. They connect with them offline after.
You're fencing, that was the fancy word I was looking for. Okay,
So the decision point here is, do the commissioners need more information? Or are you ready to give staff direction to do a couple things? One, do we increase the 150 to 200? We could increase it to 250. And then getting specific direction. I've heard some ideas about the potential priorities that we can add, like the fairgrounds and procession of species and the South Sound Block Party. So,
Well, the fairgrounds falls under project facilities owned by the county. And the other two would be if we added a community impact priority, because I think and I see Commissioner Grant, the disconnect here is if folks are like trying to project, with really no data, then it's kind of random whether they decide to think big, project big or project small. I mean, that's just like probably the personality of the person. They're a conservative minded person. I know when I'm booking my bluegrass band and venues say, how many people are you gonna bring in? Like, I'm a conservative person in that way. I don't wanna overpromise and underdeliver. So I always undersell that, where I probably could very credibly say twice as many people. So understanding that if that's how it works, I think that the board could say the community impact of an event is a good surrogate for that. Take it out of the realm of, like, people are gonna come, we know people are gonna come here for South Sound Block Party. I mean, I don't care what the organizer thinks, that people, like, go out there and look. It's a late night event. It's thousands of people and there are heads in beds. So I don't, I think by having a parameter of community impact, you're basically, you're basically capturing that goal of heads and beds if the committee thinks it through. Commissioner Grant, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to put in kind of my 2 cents on this. I mean, I think I'd agree with most of what everyone's saying. But I worry, I think just taking it back to the South County kind of discussion of how do we get heads and beds in South County, right? I just want to make sure that when I'm thinking about my district, which would be, and how do we, if we're thinking, I mean, as much as I like South Sound Block Party is awesome, but that doesn't bring any money to anyone in Yelm, right? Any of the tourists there, and so I guess, for me, it's like, I am definitely interested in increasing this amount, but I just want to be making sure that we do it proportionately, so that, we are able to increase some things in our South County as well.
yeah, so the process, and if I could just respond, we can definitely come back and do a briefing on the selection process, criteria and how that's done, because that's a little bit separate than what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is do we want 150 or do you want to go up to 250? And in that process, then if we go up to 250, let's say, and it's just it's a staff recommendation, then what are some of the priorities you have that we want to make the committee aware of? And I've heard community-wide events, fairgrounds, FIFA fan zone. We can take that back. Then we can come back and talk about, here's a selection.
About the app with the FIFA fan zone.
Yeah,
For the
sure.
rest of the
Well,
board and why it's important.
This kind of getting into the next item.
It
It's
is.
relevant because I think that when we landed, it was $84,000 for Thurston County's contribution. So that would be a chunk. Lacey and Olympia are gonna go
Yeah.
forward with the same amount and Tumwater slightly less. So that is something to think about when we're thinking about how much to increase the pool.
Right.
And then the app that, this goes to Commissioner Grant's point, the app that Commissioner Mejia is talking about was something that was described to us at our last meeting. And I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty cool, is there's gonna be so many people coming here and like a lot of people can't get tickets. They're gonna be so expensive, but people are gonna come anyway. And people are gonna come and stay longer. And there's gonna be like an app available to the fan zone communities where we can identify like up to 15 sort of locations across our region, and we're Thurston County. So in our case, we could put them anywhere in Thurston County, including Yelm, Tenino, Grand Mound, we
Pokemon
could
Go.
spread them around. It's like Pokemon. Yeah, it's like you can visit the locations and then earn points and then get like tickets, raffles for tickets and stuff. And so with like World Cup tickets on the line, people are gonna go wherever we want them to go.
And if I
And we
could-
can spread
Yeah.
the economic impact of this to Lacey and Yelm and wherever we want in Thurston County.
Just to back up so that all commissioners are aware of the FIFA fan zone conversation. So the board had authorized the chair and myself to go and meet with the other mayors and to talk about implementing the FIFA fan zone. We were one of how many, Commissioner Mejia, in the state?
1 of 8.
One of 8 that were selected. It's a big deal.
9, I think.
9 that were selected. In that process, the chamber was selected by the group of mayors to be the entity that would work with the FIFA fan zone group to get their playbook and begin to understand how to work that through. We were excited when the chamber came back to the group with a proposal on a very high level, extensive type of fan zone event. These are, how many games, Commissioner Mensah?
6.
6 different games over a period of time.
6 in Seattle, plus you might want to have it activated for like the semifinals and finals too, even though those would not be in Seattle.
So the group selected two different things, a potential location, which they selected the Ports property with agreement from the different mayors. There was a lot of discussion about that. And then selected the chamber to be the lead group to work forward. They came back with a proposal and the cost for that event was about 1.5 million. So break that out over to each jurisdiction. It was too much for each jurisdiction to fund. So there's been recent conversations to narrow that focus down to 300,000, and breaking it up between Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, and Thurston County. Tumwater, of course, has a smaller city taking a less portion. I think it was 50,000. And so our contribution would be about $84,000. And that's really what we're coming back to the board to talk about. The group still likes the port property as a location because of the iconic background of the Puget Sound with the trees and the fact that they have done really large events there, like the St. Party.
New Journey is actually happening right after, so it
Right.
kind of, there's synergies there.
So we believe that this is, and we're still working through, each jurisdiction is working through their board or their council's direction to identify what funding. A lot of folks are looking to use LTAC funds to support that. 84,000 was in the realm of the possibility for the other jurisdictions and 50 for Tumwater. All the decisions haven't been made yet. We look to report out about this week. I think everyone's touching base this week. What we're looking for is staff direction to pursue this and continue to move it forward. The chamber needs the go-ahead to know that they're going to get that level of funding to even continue to plan this event. And we believe that the impact to the region will be significant. As Commissioner Mensah mentioned, the app that the Fan Zone is working on would allow us to upload 15 of our key sites where then people could go interact like a Pokemon Go app and then get different rewards and prizes up to free tickets. So it'll be super motivating for people to come into the county. And if we strategically locate those at different places, it means added tourism all over.
Yeah, they're gonna do stuff that are gonna incentivize like people to go to all the fan zones,
Yes.
like just as a fun thing to like get them into different parts of Washington State. Cause Spokane, I mean, this is going from Vancouver, Spokane, Tri-Cities, Bremerton, Commissioner Grant, go ahead. You're muted.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Well, I just want to clarify something though. So it sounds like well, this is exciting. I mean, exciting. I'll just say that with the FIFA stuff. And I really am excited that we're thinking about, like the Pokemon Go style sort of thing that's going to help. But one of the things I just want to kind of clarify is that if we increase this to $250,000 this year, then I would assume that we're going to also keep it at that level next year. And that, because it's kind of like, are we just increasing this so that we can cover the fan zone sort of thing? Or do we really have an ongoing amount of money that would allow us to raise our overall LTAC budget to $250,000 each year, with us choosing this year to use 84,000 of it for FIFA? you know, that would be something I'm interested in making sure I understand. I think that was one of my questions, was why did, you know, if last year, for, you know, our increased sales tax based on that one slide, which I don't have in front of me, you know, if we, yes, thank you. That anticipated revenue for 2025 is 200 to 250K. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that we weren't just spending down kind of our fund balance, but instead we are anticipating that revenue would actually be around that each year. So anyway, that was kind of, I wanted some clarification on that, but it looks like I got it. I just definitely was thinking that next year, I hope that we can continue, or the year after this next year, that we can continue to have this at a level of 250,000, not just for the year that we have the FIFA fan zone. So
One of the pieces of the changes in this revenue was that we added that additional sales tax piece that goes to LTAC. And so this is where kind of the revenues are starting to come in.
Yeah, it's just good timing for us,
Yeah.
really. We did that move, which we were gonna do, or we would have done anyway, but it's fitting nicely with being able to fund the fan zone in the otherwise tough budget environment. And so I would think, Commissioner Grant, what you said is exactly right. You know, in 2027, when there's no fan zone, we'll have a lot more revenue to fund other projects.
Our recommendation, and I'll just phrase it at that, our staff recommendation is to fund this year's LTAC at 250, and then to add an additional 84,000. So for a total of 334,000. That would give, we don't know what we're going to make because the revenue receipts haven't come in yet. But we have enough fund balance to level it out, so that if we don't quite make 250, there'll still be enough fund balance to fund 2027, 250, and possibly 2028, 250, if they come in below the 250 mark because of the available fund balance. I think this is an opportunity for the board to expand by $100,000 its LTAC reach. We look forward to coming back to another presentation and going over the selection process. That'd be a great time when to plan that when Commissioner Fournier's communication is working, because he's involved in that. But we can go through and then he can provide some perspective about how those decisions are made in the data.
Just to clarify, the slide says the staff recommendation is 450,000. Is that a typo?
Oh, no, that's not our recommendation. That's just, you could go up to that amount.
That'd be max based
Okay.
on what we've got coming in now.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just wanting to show you the full numbers and what you could like, because we had, when this was putting together, we weren't sure where the fan zone was gonna come back. It could have come back at much higher, but when the group decided to make their recommendations to their board and commissions to set it at 300,000, it meant our portion became 84,000.
Going back to fan zone real quick, so like we did check with the chamber and they confirmed that they can work with the revised budget, scale it back, and then they think they'll be able to leverage, you know, additional dollars to kind of get as close as possible to the original vision, but be able to make it work even if it's the smaller jurisdiction-based budget. So we think there's flexibility there in how the event is structured that would get us moving forward.
Okay, so I'm hearing kind of, so just to clarify, what, you know, you need the directions on the funding, how much, and then what's the other piece of direction that you need?
Direction on the priorities. I think that I've heard agreement among most of the commissioners of fan zones, fairgrounds, and then county-wide community impact events.
I would like to add, I mean, it could go under community impact, but I just want to restate that the regional athletic complex is a huge asset to the community. I would like us to kind of think about that as we move forward. I'm definitely okay with increasing the funding amount to whatever the commissioners decide. I think that we have the money, we should spend the money because it can only be used for this. And then the other two questions, which it sounds like this will be coming up in the next discussion, but information on the LTAC committee process and the budget cycle / application cycle timeline. I'd like to know what that looks like. So it sounds like that's coming up.
We can get you an update. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Commissioner Grant?
Thank you.
Well, I want to just make sure that the support South Thurston County economic development doesn't fall off that priority list.
It's definitely still on there.
Yeah.
No one's saying.
Okay,
not
I
to-
just didn't hear that. I just didn't hear it. So,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
Same priorities, yeah.
Same process for everybody in the county, and we definitely encourage South County events. This, what this will do is give the LTAC process $100,000 more to fund events, either at a higher level or additional events. What we'll be doing is staff will be taking back the priorities. So that's the 250. The 84,000 is the FIFA fan zone. Us knowing that we can go back to that planning committee and confidently say that the board is supporting 84,000 of its LTAC dollars to be spent for the FIFA fan zone event.
Okay,
that-
great, thank you.
RCW, that will have to be an application, but. we can-
Yes.
And is that an application the county's going to submit?
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay with moving forward with the 334,250 proposal for general LTAC applications and then the 84 for potential FIFA fan zone.
250 plus 3 plus 84.
Yep.
Every concurrence on that? I see 4 thumbs, and Commissioner Fournier hopefully is with that too. So we have at least 4 thumbs, majority for direction.
And then we'll come back in 2 to 3 weeks, so we can talk about timeline, selection process, and some more details about the committee.
That would be great. Yeah, one of my questions as far as the process is, like, we can set priorities, but LTAC ultimately makes the recommendations. So I'd like to kind of understand that dynamic and, yeah, what our role is there.
And then it comes to the board for final deliberation.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the board doesn't approve of anything, then it like basically goes back to LTAC for them to reconsider. Yeah.
And having a commissioner on that board helps the board's position to be advocated for. Yep. But we'll definitely bring that back.
Okay, so going to the next item, is there anything more, County Manager, to say about the fan zone that we didn't cover?
So I think that there's a support, almost unanimous support for fan zone. I know that Commissioner Horn is having audio issues right now, but I know that in talking with him, he was aware of the fan zones. So we can take that back to our.
I can see a lot of work has been done by my county manager and myself to work with and Commissioner Mejia to an extent too, to try to speak to all the different stakeholders and, you know, get everybody kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
People were kind of, timeline's been, we wasted a lot of time, honestly, up front, and then when decision point became tight and people were going different directions, and it was an effort to get everybody kind of rowing the boat the same direction, but I think we're almost there.
I believe City of Lacey has agreed to tentatively move
Yeah,
forward.
try to move LTAC funds for their section and supporting a single event at the Port Plaza
And Tom Water has to tentatively agreed. Their meeting went till 9 last night. And that was the last item on the agenda.
and time's short because if I remember right, I wanted to remind the county manager, I think we heard that like getting our locations, like it was like
Yes.
it was September 18th or something, that we have to submit these locations for them to put this app together. So there's gonna be another conversation to quickly get on top of here once we get the funding part done this week and the chamber off and running.
Yeah, I will just report out to the other commissioners who haven't been part of the meeting. You'd be proud of your chair and Commissioner Mejia for really advocating. Again, only 9 locations in the state were selected, and they have worked with their colleagues in the various cities to bring an understanding of the importance of this event. Very appreciative of David Shafford from the chamber, who has been patient and working through some of the different perspectives and considerations, all valid. But without the leadership of the 2 commissioners, we might have missed this important opportunity.
Thank you, County Manager. Yeah, David Shafford did a great job of like pressing the issue and advocating for this. I think he's really excited and behind the concept and sees the potential. And then Commissioner Mejia was instrumental in putting a proposal together that ultimately carried the day, like to scale the budget back to 300,000 and that all of a sudden people started to really feel like that was within a realm of reasonableness with our various LTAC budgets. So the pieces are coming together. We're just a little late. I mean, what some of the fan zones are really doing, everybody's doing different things. It's a really unique thing because there's some parameters that we all have to do, but then they want to allow local flexibility. So in terms of how these are going to look and where they're going to be and how they're going to be staged, it's going to vary from community to community. I can tell you Pierce County is going like really big. They're doing something that's going to be, I think, pretty mind-boggling. So that's going to be kind of cool. But you know, for us to not be part of it, I think would have been a huge mistake. Okay. Let's go to the next item, which is Visitor and Convention Bureau Experience Olympia and Beyond.
Yeah, so just wanted to report out to the board, as you are all aware, there's been a leadership transition for Experience Olympia and Beyond. And I think there's a place for a discussion among this board about what priorities we would want to set for Experience Olympia and Beyond as they're in the search for a new director. Also, the other aspect of the request, I've been outreached by the recruiter for Experience Olympia and Beyond, and they wanted to meet with me as a stakeholder. They also offered to have a couple of commissioners as part of that meeting. It's next Wednesday. And so I would ask the board to identify 2 commissioners to join me in that. It's an important, the Visitor Convention Bureau is an important component to what we do here in the county. And so I think it's an opportunity for there to be a collective voice to the recruiter. That I'll pass over to you, Chair.
Okay, I saw Commissioner Mejia's hand.
Thank you. So thank you for that update, County Manager, and I think this is a timely discussion. For me, you know, being involved in the conversations before, I'm not volunteering myself to be part of those future ones, just saying that. But I really think that before there is a conversation with the recruiter, I think it's important that, I know that there's been a lot of conversation with the mayor, so I would think that having our chair and vice chair meet with our mayors and mayor pro tems and have a conversation about the VCB and the direction moving forward, since this has been happening, you know, before there was an appointment of an executive director, and then while, you know, this has all been ongoing, I think that it's important for the mayors as well as our chair and vice chair to sit down and touch base and have the conversation about moving forward. So that's a direction that I would like to give.
Meeting before the Wednesday meeting.
A meeting before the Wednesday meeting. I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to be pulled together, but I think that just based on the temperature of what I've gauged with the different jurisdictions, I think it is an important conversation.
I want to remind the board that previously the board authorized the county manager and Commissioner Fournier and Commissioner Mejia to have meetings with some of the board members of Experience Olympia and Beyond, talk through some of the perspectives while there was a change in leadership then. I think I see this as an ongoing conversation. For me, it's important that the continuity of that conversation is kept so that our voice to Experience Olympia Beyond is consistent. I say that because we really want them to be successful. Experiencing now, this would be the second leadership transition in a short period of time for any organization is destabilizing, not just for them internally, but also for the work that they do. And as we're talking about LTAC and some of these other important events, even for the FIFA fan zone, we need them to be up and ready to advertise and to promote and to get beyond our borders to draw those tourism dollars into our area. So that's why this item is before you, just so that we can have this conversation. And if you've been watching the report outs, I know other councils from our jurisdictional partners have been talking about this as well. That's how important it is.
Commissioner Grant?
Yeah, you know, so I happy to have a conversation offline. You know, I'll just say that with some of this. You know, I guess I'm interested in understanding more about why the sudden change and or why the you know, what happened. And then I guess because I'm the newest member on this commission, I'm not sure, like when Carolina, when you were saying that, you know, it's important for the mayors and others to have the conversation. I'm not sure that I understand the context of that. And so maybe an offline conversation with me would be fine. But I'm just hoping, because I wasn't part of those conversations. I'm very interested, like this is an area for me that's really, I think is one of the most important areas that we have and that we should be focused on. You know, it's our sports commission lies within this work, our, you know, lots of different, for me and the recovery community activities and the promotion of events is really important for our area. And so, you know, just hoping to get kind of some background at some point. If someone could have set up a meeting or something that with me, that would be great.
That makes sense, Commissioner Grant, because yeah, there's like, I think what you're referring to, Commissioner Mejia is referring to is just, because I've only caught like pieces of this, but there seems to be differences of opinion amongst the different city leaders as to what the VCB could do or should be doing. So like those conversations, I don't really understand all the ins and outs of it. That's why I kind of agree with the county manager, the commissioners that have been knee deep in it, which has not been me. Sorry, Commissioner Mejia, but I think you're a better choice than me. I would delegate to you because I haven't been as deep in those conversations about what, you know, kind of where people want this to go.
I'm happy to sit offline with you, Commissioner Grant. And so I guess what, you know, kind of like what I was meaning is there was a fairly strong article from the Olympian on the Lacey meeting, right? And then yesterday in Tumwater during their meeting, that was brought up as well. And there were also very strong sentiments. So I was like, okay, like, right, it's kind of like bubbling up again. And so that's kind of why I suggested a pre-meeting. But yeah, I'm happy to kind of sit with you and kind of give you more information on it, Commissioner Grant.
So commissioners, would the board be comfortable with, if schedules allow, having Commissioner Fournier and Commissioner Mejia sit with me and the recruiter? Again, they have those.
Very comfortable.
Thank you, Chair. Great, all right.
I'd like to set like a one-on-one maybe with staff or one-on-two or however many, just to understand kind of what happened as well. But I think Commissioner Mejia and Commissioner Fournier are good choices for the meeting.
We'll schedule that with you.
Thank you.
Give you some background. Might be,
After they meet, you mean?
It doesn't matter.
If it's after, maybe I could join you.
Okay,
We could get a scoop on how it went.
sure, we
okay.
can do that.
Okay, very good. Anything else on that item, County Manager?
No, we appreciate the direction and we will schedule, once we meet, we'll schedule times. Also, as part of that direction, we'll try to get a meeting together with the mayors so that we can round that up and talk.
Yeah, and you know, that may or may not be able to happen on such short notice, but I guess if it can, great. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that. Okay, last item under Commissioner items is Emergency Responder Protection and Enforcement Act Coordination. I know this is a Commissioner Fournier idea,
It is a Commissioner Fournier idea.
and he gave me a little bit of a summation of it. Love to have him explain it.
I'm also happy to discuss it as well. Okay, so yeah, Commissioner Fournier, I think we have all seen the situation that happened in the Bear Gulch area. He's submitted a proposal to the board. And what he was hoping for was for direction to have the county manager and staff and legal look over this proposal and then bring it up to the board for adoption. And so part of his concerns were the fact that there were federal agents arrested firefighters during an active wildfire response. And what was very, I guess I'll add my own spin, is it was very concerning as well that there were a lot of tribal members that were present that were also for us to be a part of the lineup. And so it comes down to public safety risk. Because during this incident, the incident commander was not advised of this, and it undermines the coordination, and it definitely delays emergency efforts and creates the fear among emergency workers. So he, for the goal of this, he wrote it out very well, is, to protect the continuity of emergency operations, ensure due process for all workers in disaster zones, and require identification and coordination by any federal law enforcement operating during county-led emergencies. And so, he went and searched for this, which the legal foundation for this is under RCW 3852, which grants county the authority over our local emergency management, especially when it's a local emergency. So he has drafted an ordinance and some language on there. And so he was hoping the board to kind of have the county manager work with legal to see if it was something that we could do and make sure that it falls under this specific. And I will pass it. Matt, is there anything else that I missed? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Not really. Obviously, he has a career in firefighting, and this was that moment of understanding that it really compromised the safety and the importance of the emergency. The ordinance is written out to take effect as soon as the board were to pass it. I do believe, Amy, sorry to pitch to you, I do think the intention is to send it to legal before it's adopted. And it would go through the adoption process.
I think, and as Commissioner Fournier has described it to me, it's like this, there's a lot of context in which the actions of the federal government are, we dealt with it a few years ago in administration and justice at our courthouse. There's a lot of context, but this is a particular context where we have a particular unique authority. There's many of the other contexts, we just don't have any latitude to interfere in any way, but this is a context where something has actually happened. We saw how it went down and how it was not, appropriate. And then B, we may, that's why we need the legal sort of review, but we may have a unique authority here that would be different than anything else. So that's, I think, where Commissioner Fournier was coming from, and I think it's an interesting and good idea. Commissioner Grant, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that I also think it's a really great idea. I read it over when it came in our email. I think it's great. I definitely am interested in the legal review, though, just to make sure that it is, exactly. But and then I just want to give you guys that thumbs up. I'm about to start traveling home, so I may not be able to respond at this point. So okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think, Chair, that we would want to review with legal, review with staff,
Well,
and then review with the clerk as to what's the best approach, and then this ultimately would come back probably in a business meeting.
Well, also coordination with, that was the other part I forgot, coordination, not just with legal, but with our local EMS and making
Absolutely.
sure
Yep.
that, with Ben and making. That was I was like, I know I'm forgetting a piece, and that was the next piece of it. So the direction would include kind of that coordination between, our local EMS, making sure that it's, up to par, legal, and being sure that.
Commissioner Klaus, is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like we have unanimous direction. And that's the end of the agenda. So,
I'm sorry if I butchered it, Commissioner.
no, good job. Thank you, Commissioner Mejia. Thank you, Commissioner Fournier. We'll see everybody at the next meeting.
Okay.
1:30.